Here we are back at it again inside the Stone State Studios. My name is Chad Evans with my very good friend Dena.
Hi, Chad. How are you?
I'm great. This is Just Dena.
It is Just Dena.
Interior designer extraordinaire.
Okay.
I like it.
I do too.
How are you?
I am fabulous.
And 2025 has been pretty good to you so far?
2025 has been awesome.
Yeah?
It's been an exciting year. I've got to meet new friends, do new projects, visit some old friends and start new projects with them, which has been fun. And actually, probably my most favorite project this year has been years ago, back in 1993. I did a client's home in the area, and her little girl, Katie, was 7 years old. And Katie is now all grown up. And Katie called me and wanted to know if I would do her house. And that to me was the biggest compliment and has been the most fun project that after the generations and 25 years plus, that this little girl saw I did her bedroom when she was 7 and wanted me back to do her house.
I got chills, Dena. You're generational.
Thank you.
Isn't that a huge accomplishment?
It is.
Really.
And I also did her grandmother's house too.
Oh,
so I thought that was, so 3 generations there.
That is so cool. And that's what it's all about. It really is.
It is.
That's what it's all about. But what this episode is about is we're going to get into your brain.
Okay. That's a scary place.
I like it, though.
Okay.
I like it. So you've supplied us with some of your thoughts. And I'm going to try to get to the bottom of it, of exactly what you mean behind this stuff. So your first thought that you have is invisible is still felt. Every detail matters, especially the ones people don't notice.
Yes, Chad. So the biggest compliment to me is people will say, I don't know what it is, but I love my room. And that's what I try to do. I don't want them to pinpoint an exact item in the room that's their favorite. I want the whole room, the whole space to be their favorite. And they love it that people will come into their home and say, it's so peaceful and so restful now. But we don't know what you did. That gives me a pat on the back.
Well, that's a magic superpower.
It is a superpower.
But you have a method to your madness.
A few things, yes.
Wow. So just by the feel of a room can change a person's attitude, right?
Well,
or is it?
The advertising industry for years has used color to invoke a mood. You know, fast food restaurants, just to name a few, they want you in and out of there. So they make the colors bright and almost glowing, so you don't want to spend time. Well, your home is a different space. And that's where I find people tend to make the most mistakes is with the choice of color, because they may like red, but it doesn't have to be fire engine red. There's dinner party red, which is so much more soothing and so much better to sit back and relax in your home. And people are afraid of color, and that's where I help them push that envelope. But it's not just the color you choose. It's the layout of the room. It's the actual individual pieces. And it's the puzzle that I try to put together for each and every client differently, because no puzzle is alike for each person. I want to take all the personalities in the home and put it together.
That's why it's important to have Dena on your side.
Well, yes, it is.
That's why it's important to have a Dena in your life.
Okay.
And we're proud, and speaking to our producer, Mr. Krebs, we're all proud that you are in our lives, because you're going to help us out in the future, and I can't wait for that to happen. We're going to dive into it together.
Okay.
So more of your thoughts inside that brain of yours. You say, constraints are creativity's best friend. Boundaries don't block ideas, they focus on them. So explain that to me.
Well, everybody will say, oh, my house is too small, or my space is too small. Oh, I've got, possibly there could be a person in the home that has a handicap or a disability that needs special things. Sometimes there's more people in the house that really, on a house that doesn't fit, or maybe the house is too big. All those are constraints, but that doesn't mean you have to live with those constraints. For instance, you have a small home, and a lot of people think, well, then I've got to do little teeny tiny things because I live in a little teeny tiny house. You don't have to do that. That idea is wrong. If you have less pieces and larger size, it can actually make your space look bigger. And it's always scary to people. One of the things is with flooring, like they're always saying, well, I have a small bathroom. I have to do little tile. I can't use big tile in the bathroom. Well, yes, you can. There's no rule written that says you can't use big tile in a little space. And what that does, it makes the illusion that your room's bigger because there's less lines. So it creates a different thought process. And it's a subtle one that nobody realizes in that.
How important is it for lighting in a room?
Immense, depending on what the purpose of the room is.
Okay.
So the bathroom, for instance, and the kitchen, the two most important rooms needs to have great lighting. Rule of thumb is you should have in a bathroom over a vanity, you should have 300 watts of light to get proper lighting for your face, for makeup, shaving, all that kind of good stuff. So you can see yourself in the morning when you wake up. But most of us have very poor lighting. And the same thing in a kitchen, because it's utilitarian. You need to be able to see, to work, and task. And when you have improper lighting, it doesn't work. But on the other hand, when you're sitting down and enjoying an evening, you don't want the light too bright. I go in homes where they've overkilled the recess lighting. Like it looks like a landing strip when you go in the home. Who wants that when you're sitting down trying to relax? That's what the big box stores are trying to get you out of, in and out as quickly as they possibly can. You don't want to do that. So dimmer switchers are important. Light placement's important. The shade on a lamp can make a huge difference depending on what you're trying to do. Now, not saying that if you need to read or do work in those spaces, yes, you need a task light to do those lights. But it's nice to consult me in that process. And what I did 2 weeks ago at a client's home, they were building a home and they had me come through and work with the electrician. And I marked out where the lights would go, where the outlets would go, where the switches on the walls. You don't take into consideration when you're entering a room, where you want to turn your lights on and which lights you want to turn on when you come in. And nobody thinks about that. I mean, there's things that everybody does as a rule of thumb, but you have to do that direction how you live your life. When you're coming out of a space or going into a space, where do you want the light switch? I have one home that was built about 15 years ago, and nobody caught it till after the house was built and done. The kitchen and dining room were adjacent, but the light to turn on the dining room light was by the front door. So in order to carry food from the kitchen and turn the dining room light on, you had to walk across the room. You shouldn't do that. It should have been a three-way switch. Well, it's too late after the building process because it's already wired up. That's where I come in to help even in that early stage.
You're very confident when it comes to that stuff. If it were me, I would be like, I don't know how many lights there needs to be. And you're like, well, you're going to put a light there. You're going to put a light there. You're going to put a light there. How did you get so confident in your field? Is it the 10,000 hours that we were talking about?
It's experience. But the other thing is it's also using common sense. Another thing with the lighting, I always tell everyone, when you're doing lighting over a kitchen sink, where is the light usually over the kitchen sink when it's placed?
It's like directly above it, isn't it?
Yeah. And you're how tall?
Yeah. So I'm 6'3".
Yeah, and when you're bent over the sink, where's the light?
Well, I'm not allowed in the kitchen a lot.
Okay, so if you would be allowed in the kitchen, where would that light be? On the top of your head.
And then I won't be able to see.
And that creates a shadow. And the simple thing about putting two lights over the sink and splitting it makes much more sense because it shines down. And those are the things that I've just learned over the years from experience and just watching it. And I think, well, why are they putting that light over the middle? It makes no sense to me at all.
It's those little things.
Those are little things. And that, when you're building a home, that's a big thing.
You're exactly right. Back into your brain.
Okay.
You say great design disappears when people don't notice, they just experience it. Is that kind of along the lines of your same thought where the
kind of
invisible is still felt?
Like, have you ever gone someplace and you're invoked by a piece of artwork or something? It really is not your taste, but you're kind of like lost in it.
Yeah.
Well, people can appreciate nice artwork and different artwork. It doesn't have to be expensive, but just because you don't like it in your home doesn't mean you can't enjoy it and experience it. You don't know why you like it in that space. But a lot of times I'll go places and, in fact, I was just in Jim Thorpe for the weekend and I love,
isn't that lovely?
I love the Packer Mansion.
Yeah.
I've toured it at least 50 times. And every time I go, I notice different pieces of artwork and you look at it and you think, oh, I didn't notice that before. I enjoy it. It's invisible. but I still like it. And it may not put it in my home, but I still like it.
You know, rumor has it, talking about that Packer mansion and Jim Thorpe, that Walt Disney got his inspiration for the haunted mansion from the Packer house.
He did. Really cool.
It is really cool. Speaking of inspiration, you also say, my inspiration starts with empathy. Understanding who you are, designing with unlocks what you should design. So it starts with empathy.
Well, so I'm going to go back to our conversation a few minutes ago before we turned the mics on.
Yeah.
And turning it to you and about what your next project's going to be here. And, you know, you have an idea in your head. You just may not know how to pull it out of your head.
I had no idea how to do that.
And me just listening and just taking time to listen instead of like, we're not going to throw a pillow or a color. You don't have to decide what color it is now. Let's decide what you want it to feel like, what you want it to look like. And, you know, and it's your space. You want other people to enjoy it, but at the day's end, it's your space.
I can't wait to talk more about it. I can't wait, because just over a 5-minute conversation with you, Dena, is like, you know, what inspires you? And I'm like, well, I like this and I like this. And you're like, okay. And then you're like, well, how about this? How about this? I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. So we'll talk more with my consultation. You also say, Dena, if a problem is solved, that's good design. Great sparks the emotions. If a problem is solved, that's good design. Great sparks the emotions.
Well, so if you have a problem area in your room and everybody keeps saying, oh, I can't fix it, I can't do that. And sometimes I just go in and I'll just move something. And then moving that one piece of furniture or that one piece of artwork, the whole inspiration of the room comes in mind. And it can be just a simple thing. Back to, this was years ago with a home, and I was working with a client, and I could not reach them of what they wanted. Everything I kept showing them, they kept going, no, don't like that, don't like that. And we were under a time constraint. And I said, well, what is it that you're looking for? I mean, like, what is it that you're feeling? What emotion? And kind of like I asked you what you said about who you liked and everything. And they said, well, I really like this type of artwork. And I said, well, what is that artwork? I had never even heard of it. So we look it up, and turns out that they said, I want the Travelers artwork. And I go, I don't know what the Travelers are. And years ago, back in the late 1800s, there was starving artists in the state of Florida that traveled around the state and painted the scenery and then sold their art. Just kind of like they do around here. They have the starving artist series at the hotels. Sure. And she said, I love the colors because the colors were soft and subtle and kind of filmy. And they were watercolors that they did. And she goes, that's what I want my home to look like. And I'm like, well, I can go with that. And that little problem solved the whole, just one idea of a piece of artwork, made the whole room work. And I'll do that a lot from just in a kitchen. Like, they don't know what countertops they want. They'll go, I don't know what I want to do with my kitchen. I go, well, what do you want for your countertop? Let's not talk about the cabinets. And they'll go, well, I'd like a piece of granite. And they'll go, well, we were just thinking about getting, just the marble looking granite. And I'll go, is that what you really want? And they'll go, well, no, I like it. I like it when it has all this movement. And I said, well, let's go find that stone first. Find the stone. The kitchen will fall into place. Sometimes just the simplest thing, instead of going off on a tangent, is the greatest gift I could give someone.
It's interesting when you talk about that story and how maybe you and that client at the time weren't aligning.
No, right? We weren't aligning at all.
Where you're saying, like,
I was getting frustrated.
But you didn't quit.
No. I'm not a quitter.
No, you didn't quit on that, and I think that has some kind of perseverance with your industry, is that you have a partner with interior design that won't quit on you.
No, and I tell everyone that it is your home.
Yeah,
it's your money. I'm just here to steer you. Like, I'm not the captain. I'm
sure.
I'm behind the scenes a little bit. And I'm the first mate, you know, to get you where you want to go. You just might not know where you want to go just yet.
Right. Yeah. And we were talking a little bit before where, Dena isn't the person when you call on Dena to help, design a specific room or maybe your house, she just doesn't show up with 4 throw pillows and be like, here you go.
Well, I'd never show up with 4. You know that.
It has to be 5
or 3.
Or 3.
Most likely it's going to be 3, or 5. You're learning,
We're
Chad.
getting there. We talked about it before you got in here. Don't look at my shelves. But we did the 2 and then the 3 and then the 3 and the 2. Mm-hmm. So we're learning together.
Yes.
Yeah, we're learning together. But
you're learning. Yes. I'm bringing you up the curve.
Yes, I appreciate it. And hopefully, a listener out there is learning the industry as well, because there is a stereotype that an interior designer, one, is too expensive.
Too expensive.
You hear that all the time.
Yep.
And
what is too expensive?
What is too expensive?
If you've made a costly mistake by doing something that's forever, like your kitchen cabinets or your flooring or things like that in the building process, specifically in the building process, people will say, well, we didn't have a choice. They hurried us up to make the decision. First of all, you don't have to hurry. There's no fire lit behind them, because you'll make that decision and it might turn into something, 6 weeks from now. And I'm not dissing the contractors or anything like that, but there is no hurry. Slow down. Spend your money wisely. That's what I help you do. Just like the light switch, it's in the proper space. You'll be happier if you do it then, because most of the time, if the mistake's made, we'll fix it later. You're not. It'll be 20 years till you fix it. You'll be living with this idea for 20 years.
When someone, let's just take, for instance, someone is building a home. They want to build their dream home. What step of the process do you come in, Dena?
I like to come at the blueprint stages.
Okay.
Before they sign the dotted line. Because I look at the blueprints, the home that I just did the lighting on, when I looked at their blueprints before they had signed the dotted line, there was 2 spots in the house, and it was a simple thing. It was where the doors opened up, and I suggested pocket doors, because where the traffic was coming, 2 doors were going to come into each other. And the other one was the room was small, and if the pocket door made the space in the room larger so that they could put a little closet in there. And those are things that before you sign can be made. It's not a change order. It doesn't cost you $500 every time you change the order. That's why an interior designer is not expensive.
Okay.
When you bring me in after the house is already started, those things are already been signed on the dotted line. And every time you make a change, that's where the dollars get into effect. And that's where I can save people money. And I also, with the contractors, they like it for the simple fact is I do help them make the decision instead of walling about and changing their mind 5 or 6 times. I mean, unless, you may not be a person that changes your mind all the time, but
all the time.
Well, that I don't change my mind very often.
Yeah. And that's respectful. Yeah. And I don't think people would want you to change your mind. You want that confidence.
Well, I want to have the conviction.
Yes, sure. Yeah. And you also don't show up at a house with a sledgehammer. Right?
I know, but I've always wanted to smash a wall.
I know. Well, maybe we can work something out here.
I can?
Maybe. We'll see. We got to put a door in. That's another story. Another thought that you had, Dena, is design isn't perfection. It's refining. It's questioning, and it continues to grow. So is this something where you design a room and you set it and forget it, or do you? No,
because everybody thinks once they've done this remodel that that's the end of it. Well, that's just the beginning to me. So you don't have to have everything you want when that project, the construction part of the project is finished or completed.
Yeah.
I don't want people to go out and buy things just to fill the space. Take your time. Let's get the room right. And then start adding the accent pieces. The room doesn't just happen and all the process is over in 6 months. The room's done, the walls are painted, there's furniture in. But, well, then they hurry out to go buy artwork and accessories and a pillow or 2 or 3. No 2, but 3. Why? You don't have to be completed.
They just get excited.
They get very excited, yes, but they'll be happier if they make that decision and go out and settle for something. You're going to be happier if you collect the piece. And that's what I was saying to you early. I want people to walk into a space and feel their surroundings were collected, not purchased, that they traveled the world and collected these pieces. There's no hurry about it. And you can always add to your collection, just like with artwork. There's no rule of thumb. I've done many homes where the artwork goes from the baseboard to the ceiling. There's nothing that said it just has to be halfway up the wall and centered on a space.
Yeah.
It can be everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Patience is a virtue.
It is.
for me. And sometimes I get real excited about something and I try to go all in, and it has to be done right then and there. I get hyper focused. With interior design,
Slow down.
slow it down. Okay.
I do keep you on task, though. I'm not saying I don't want you to stop.
Right.
I just want you to take it slow, and select things that you like. And if I have someone who is wishy-washy about something, they'll go, "Oh," I go, "Just let me think about it a while." And so I need to go and think. I don't want to come out with the answer right away and say things that are not true or that I don't feel right about. And I had an instance the other week where we had made a selection and a product came and the color from what we picked from the picture was not true. And that happens.
Was it close?
No.
Oh, okay.
It had a total different tone to it, like the actual color tones. And that's one of my fortes, is the actual color tone itself. And I said to her, the wall paint, this was wall paint. I go, "I know you purchased the gallon of paint, but I'm telling you right now, let's go back and see if we can get it tinted, change." I said, and normally I wouldn't change it, but I actually saw, we were matching from a picture, which isn't always true. And it does work out. Like I've done things and custom ordered pictures. I just finished a project out in Millville that I found these two pictures and I knew that I wanted this certain color for the wall. And she goes, "How did you do that?" I go, "I don't know. I just did."
It just happened.
It just happened. But the tone of the color is more important than anything else. That is the silent or the quietness of the design. For instance, even white ceilings. People go, "Well, we're just going to paint it, contractor white." I go, Benjamin Moore has 121 shades of white. The right white can make all the difference in the world of what the ceiling looks like. Nobody notices it that it's not builder's white or decorator white.
But let us in on that secret, Dena. Your superpower, 121 different colors of white?
Well, for Benjamin Moore.
That's for Benjamin Moore.
So that doesn't count the rest of them.
How in the world can you
That's something you are born with. It's the tone. I can see the tone. It's just like you have the voice.
Yeah. But that's the Jack Daniels.
Oh, well.
That's no secret. Yeah. That's
Or Jim.
That works too. Yeah.
But that's where I can make your experience be quiet and tasteful in design, and you like it. Just that subtle change of the paint tone makes all the difference. I can see it. I can't explain it to someone. I really can't. Yeah. You're born with it.
You're born with it. Well, I'm glad you have that talent, and I don't have that.
I'm so sorry, Chad.
If I had to pick out a color of white, my brains would just ooze out of my ears. Okay, your last thought that you had that we're going to talk about today. Purpose, clarity, and honesty is timeless design. It's not trendy. It taps into something deeper than the truth.
Yes. Sometimes I have to be brutally honest with people.
And how do people respond to that?
Well, I warn them ahead of time, usually. Or my referral, either a friend of theirs or another client that referred them to me will say, "Now I'm just going to tell you." She's going to tell you what she thinks. And I say that. And I had a client that I was working with fairly recently on a design, and someone came, they brought 5 people into the house to critique everything. And of course,
critique what you did?
What I picked. Oh, that we hadn't made the decision.
They created a focus group?
Yeah, he created a focus group. Let's put it that way. And they went through and they put their opinions on, and I said, he goes, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, I gave you what I thought. You asked my opinion, you paid for my opinion." And I don't mean to be smart or anything like that. They're not living in the house. You are. And you either have to trust me or not trust me. And I said, if you want to go with what they say, that's your prerogative. And I basically said I would walk away. And then ended up, he didn't do that because he trusted me. And that's hard to give trust to something, but being brutally honest sometimes with people, and that people bring multiple people in their lives when they're making a decision like that. They bring the best friend, they bring the mom, they bring the neighbors, they bring the cousins, this postman. It's not their decision. It's our decision between the homeowner and myself to pick the project. don't ask too many opinions.
Well, it happens in my line of work daily when someone wants a video for their business and we go over the storyboard and the ideas and the outline and the voiceover and stuff like that. And then they say, Chad, you have creative control. You can do whatever you want. Let it rip. That's what I do.
Right.
And I hand them the video and they're like, let me send this around the block a little bit and we'll figure out if this is good or not. Well, I gave you the best I could. Right. That was my creative angle on it. And a lot of times it comes back with a little focus group that this business might have. Like, can you change this? Can you change this? Can you change this? Can you change this? And I'm at the mercy of the invoice a lot of times.
Right.
So I do. And it turns out to be terrible. But that's what they wanted.
Right.
So, I mean, it's very rarely I say no, but we're different industries, right? I'm in, advertising and marketing and media production. But what you do is create an environment that will last a lifetime for, families. And so I can imagine that being a lot of pressure.
Well, it is. And it's also like with the medical profession. I mean, we're professionals in what we do. And you have to trust us. And, I've been very adamant about things. I've had people, one instance, I had a client pick a fabric out that they wanted to recover a piece of furniture with. And I said, you don't want to put that on this piece of furniture. There's nothing wrong with the fabric. It's not going to look well when this is done. I just know it. And of course, that did not happen. And we did that. And I brought it and it looked horrible on the piece. And then she did not want to pay for it. And I said, I told you not to do this.
Yeah.
I said it wasn't going to look well. It just, it had to do with the fabric layout and the design and everything like that. And the upholsterer didn't want to do it, but we did it on their encouragement. And I just had to laugh at the end. And the husband looks at her and says, she told you, pay the bill.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm above and beyond making a mistake at all. And, sometimes I'm not happy with my work, but I always fess up to it like this. I'm not happy with this, or I'll say I'm not right. And I've even left a home one evening. I was over in Lewisburg working on a project and my brain stopped. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I've got to get a new perspective. And I looked at her and I said, I'm sorry, but I'll be back in the morning. Something's not right. And then it came to me at 3 a.m. and I fixed it. At my expense. I didn't want them to be unhappy because if I left the home and left it the way it was and said I'm finished, I wasn't finished. I knew it wasn't right. Everything I kept doing was wrong. And admitting that you're wrong is the best thing that you can do. Yeah. Because we're not always on game all the time. And I want to do the best job I can for my clients who, in the most part, become my friends. I become part of the family. That's the best. It really is. Over the years, that is the best. Yeah, of course. At the end of the day, it's all about, customer satisfaction. Like little Katie from 7 years old to 37, and she still wants me to come to her home. Exactly. It's all about client satisfaction. And that generational work that you've done it speaks volumes. It really does. And again, it is client satisfaction, but you're not there to agree with them all the time. You're there to... that's what holds your value is that you're a second set of eyes. You're the expert in the industry. You can get some ideas and get a vibe from them, but you don't always need to agree. No, I don't always need to agree. Right. So I love that about you. So how can someone get a hold of you, Dena, if they're interested? Maybe they get a new home, they have a room that they want updated, just to speak with you and maybe set up a consultation. What do they got to do? Well, there's multiple ways. Okay. You can reach me via good old telephone, 570-204-1383. I am on Facebook. You can contact me through Messenger, through Facebook. I'm also on Meta, and I'm also on Google. Okay. So you can get me many different ways. When is a good time for them to reach you? You're busy all the time. My phone never shuts off. Yeah. If I do not answer my phone, that means I'm with someone, and I will call them back. And if you tell me that it's okay to call you up till 11 o'clock at night, I might be there at 10:59. Or if you tell me I'm an early riser, if you like phone calls at 5:30 in the morning, I'm your girl.
And does a consultation work well over the phone, or do you have to be in a space?
Well, we can do it a number of ways. The one good thing I feel that came out of COVID is I learned how to do house call FaceTimes and WhatsApp. And I did as far away as Ottawa, Canada, Utah, Texas, Maine, Florida. And I don't know that would be my first choice, but I'd rather come to your home.
Yeah.
But if the constraints show that we need to do it via social media, we can do that. I prefer at least a one-time in-home consultation.
Okay.
So I can get an idea of the space. And that is probably, and one of the things about the consultation, I don't mind the time that we do the consultation, but if it coming down to picking colors, I like to pick colors during the daytime. It's like my 3 thing. Like once it gets dark, I don't mind doing the consultation, but I'm not going to give you colors at 7:00 at night. Especially very shortly here when the clock changes.
Yeah, sure.
I definitely want daylight. I don't have to have sunshine. I'd like daylight for that. But I mean, I have no problem having the consultation at that time of night, but I will come back with colors in the daytime.
Just Dena.
Yep,
There you
Just
are.
Dena.
Just Dena. And you need Dena in your life if you're looking for some interior design help. And she's, we talked earlier. I said, you're the best interior designer I know.
Well, thank you. I hope I'm not the only one you know. Well,
Dena, thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
We're going to do it again soon. And in the future, I'm really excited to work on a project that we have in mind, a little dream that Chad had back in the day, and come to fruition.
Well, I hope I can bring your dream to fruition.
You're gonna. Yeah,
okay.
We're halfway there already, and we didn't do anything.
Okay,
So.
thanks.
Dena, thanks for coming in. I'm Chad Evans in Stone State Studios. We'll see you next time.